When I first walked into that old barn, the smell of dust and aged timber hit me like history itself. You could feel the decades in the air. Rough beams, rusted nails, hay scattered across cracked concrete floors. It wasn't a home. It wasn't even livable. But beneath the decay, there was structure, character, and soul. My vision? To turn this abandoned barn into a modern, livable space without losing the charm that made it special. Every great transformation begins with a single idea, and mine was simple. Preserve the bones, modernize the experience. That meant every design decision had to balance rustic authenticity with modern function. But first came reality, cleanup. I spent 3 full days clearing out debris, removing rotted boards, and scrubbing years of grime from the rafters. The barn had good bones, thick oak beams that hadn't moved an inch in over half a century. That was my foundation. Next came structural inspection. I reinforced the frame with new steel brackets, sanded the main beams, and treated them with a natural oil finish instead of paint. I wanted the wood grain to speak. Old timber tells stories, and I wasn't about to silence it with whitewash. After that, insulation, the unglamorous but essential step. Spray foam went into the walls, rigid boards under the floor, and mineral wool in the ceiling. Energy efficiency isn't optional when you're turning a barn into a home. It's what makes the dream sustainable. Then came the layout, the heart of the design. The barn had a massive open footprint, so I divided it into 3 zones. A living area with double-height ceilings, a minimalist kitchen along the back wall, and a small loft bedroom above the utility section. No unnecessary walls, just open space and light. To enhance that openness, I added massive glass panels to replace the old barn doors, floor-to-ceiling windows that let the outside in. That one move transformed everything. Suddenly, the old barn wasn't dark and forgotten. It was flooded with light. The flooring was next. I didn't replace the concrete. I polished it. That industrial surface became my modern foundation. Then I layered it with neutral rugs and underfloor heating for comfort. Overhead, I left the original rafters exposed, sandblasted, and sealed. The contrast between raw wood and polished surfaces created exactly the mood I wanted, a dialogue between past and present. The kitchen became the design centerpiece. I built it from scratch using birch plywood and matte black hardware. Minimal lines, soft edges, and open shelving made from reclaimed barn planks. The countertop was poured concrete, durable, minimal, and timeless. Every choice was intentional, not flashy, but honest. A barn-turned home should never look like it forgot its roots. The loft bedroom was built using a simple steel frame anchored into the existing beams. It overlooks the living area like a quiet perch. I installed a minimalist railing with black cables to keep the view open and modern. The bed frame, built from leftover lumber, sits low to the floor, keeping everything grounded and calm. Lighting changed the atmosphere completely. I installed recessed LEDs along the beams and hung a single industrial pendant over the main space. Warm temperature lighting, never cold white. The glow brought the textures to life. At night, it feels like sitting inside a modern sculpture made of history. Then came the finishing touches, small but defining. A wood-burning stove for warmth and personality. A wall of reclaimed bricks behind it, sealed and backlit. Indoor plants softened the geometry. A custom-built bookcase doubled as a staircase to the loft. Every element served a purpose. Nothing wasted, nothing random. When it was finally done, the barn didn't just look transformed, it felt reborn. You could still see its past in every beam and every nail, but now it carried a sense of purpose. The old had met the new, and they weren't fighting. They were collaborating. The entire project took 6 months and a lot of problem solving. But when I stood in the middle of that open space, sunlight pouring through the tall windows, I realized what this build was really about. It wasn't just about converting a barn. It was about preserving character while creating comfort. About turning something forgotten into something alive again. So if you ever come across an old structure and think it's beyond saving, think again. There's beauty buried in neglect. All it takes is vision, persistence, and respect for what came before. Because the best modern homes don't erase history. They elevate it.